Hey everybody, welcome to ASI Radio, where ASI's most outspoken editors talk promo products. I'm Nicole Rollander, editor of Stitches Magazine, and joining me today is Chris Ruvo, who is a senior writer for Advantages Magazine.
Thanks, Nicole.
And joining us today is Heather Lutzy. She's one of our highly rated ASI show speakers. She talks about social media and SEO. She's the founder of Findability University. She's a professional speaker, trainer, and consultant who literally wrote the book, two of them actually, on search engine marketing. You might have read or seen one of these: Findability Formula, the easy, non-technical approach to search engine marketing, and Thumbnomics, the essential business social media and mobile marketing. Hi, Heather.
Hello. How are you guys today?
Good. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Today we want to talk about a lot of social media stuff, so hopefully you're up for the task. We have a lot of questions for you today.
We're ready. Bring it on.
All right. Well, let me get right to it. So here's my first question. If a business owner only has 15 minutes a day, what should they be doing on social media? We also keep hearing a lot about great social media productivity tools, but it's funny because people I talk to say, well, oh yeah, isn't that Hootsuite, or what else is that? So I keep hearing that there are some new things. So what do you think?
Yeah. Well, if you only have 15 minutes, my suggestion is to commit to one platform that you feel is most germane to your industry, to your potential buying customer, and commit to that fully. I think it's one thing to commit to a whole variety of social media platforms and have like 2 followers per platform, versus going into like just Facebook or just LinkedIn or whatever is the most congruent social media platform, and commit yourself to regularly posting and engaging on that one platform. I think a lot of mistakes people make is, I'm going to try to do very little over a lot of different platforms, and I think that my best advice, if you only have 15 minutes, is focus on one thing and do it really well.
Chris here. So, Heather, when you go about focusing on that platform, whatever it may be, what kind of content should you be posting to increase engagement with that account?
Yeah, I think that we train and have done at the ASI events about connecting with your findability online. So there's a number of different tools, Spyfu, spyfu.com, and the AdWords Keyword Planner. And those are 2 tools that we tap into what's currently in play. So what are the phrases that people are asking of Google? Are they frustrated? Are they not finding what they want? Are they looking for vendors? So when we work with clients, we ask them to tap into the psyche of their searcher. What is going on that's already in play? And start matching your social content and your blogging to answer those questions. And by doing that, you're then allowing Google to match you with people who don't know your product exists but should. And in order to do that, you've got to, use the language of your peeps, okay? You've got to use the language that they're using in Google, create content that matches that, and then that's all of a sudden when your social media really starts to perform, is when you use their language and answer their problems. I think a lot of companies make the mistake of just purely selling. Product of the day, here's a promo deal, here's a bulk discount. They don't bother engaging at them. They're just doing a one-directional sales pitch on their social, and no one wants to follow a sales pitch.
Yeah, so it definitely seems like then you kind of measure your results when you start seeing some of those prospects turn into sales leads or actual buyers of your products.
Absolutely, and even at a smaller level, do they like it? Do they share it? Do they comment on it? There's that sort of little bit, we like to call it snackable moments before they actually convert, is what are you snacking them with? What's interesting? What's shareable? What's funny? What's your personality on social media, right? It's not anti-social behavior, it's social behavior. So, how do we show our internal reality as a company? Are we fun? Are we super professional? Do we have a great corporate culture? Being willing to share those kinds of things helps engage clients at a deeper level. So when you do have an offer that is meaningful and important to them, they will respond because they feel like they know you at this point. And
Yes.
that's, I think, important to identify that.
Yeah, so you're talking about, corporate culture and people getting to know you. So that kind of segues into these photo-driven social media sites. So, like
Hmm.
Pinterest, Instagram, Tumblr. What's the best way to leverage those sites? And say somebody has never been on any of them. What's a good
Hmm.
one to sort of get your feet wet if you want to, get some
Yeah.
pictures out of your company, having a barbecue or some great promotional products that people have sold?
I think Pinterest is probably a really excellent place to put energy in. First of all, Pinterest is the fastest growing social media site right now. It's also heavily influenced on the female demographic. So if they feel like their buyers are engaged in Pinterest, primarily a middle-aged female engagement. Also, Pinterest boards, individual boards in Pinterest will rank in Google. So I guess if I'm looking at a social media that sort of has double the power, I would feel like Pinterest would be great because I can optimize the boards. I can show all of my promotional products. I can create seasonal boards based on what's happening through the year. And I think really for ASI, that is a great way to visually represent your inventory, is to create Pinterest boards. And it's a lot of fun, too. I mean, I think sometimes as business owners we get bored. And, and sometimes I think that we need to stay engaged and excited about what we're doing in social, or it really shows up in our feed that we're bored with it. And Pinterest is definitely a way to avoid boredom. It's a lot of fun.
Gotcha. Regardless of where you're posting content online, especially if it's images, you obviously want people to see it and you want it to be reproduced well. And that kind of leads to our next question, which is about mobile sites. How important is having everything optimized for mobile? How important is that to your digital marketing strategy?
Well, it's sort of been in the back conversation for a number of years, and Google actually is coming up very soon with an update that is going to be a significant ranking signal if your website is mobily responsive. So right now, based on the last, there was a study done by Search Engine Land, and about 40% of Google's search volume right now is coming through tablets and mobile phones, mobile devices. So Google's, with the next major update, they're calling it Mobilegeddon, which I think is kind of funny.
Mobilegeddon.
Mobilegeddon is coming. That's
I want
when the zombies
t-shirt.
show up too, by the way. The Mobilegeddon is really this whole concept of, if you don't have a mobile-friendly site, not just mobile-friendly, but mobily responsive, and that's a very important distinction, that Google is not going to see you as a thought leader, as a content thought leader, and therefore your ranking will suffer. So that's, I think, the most important thing is if you are thinking about touching your site in any way, contact a web developer and get that website mobily responsive as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So on to another topic. Social video is up and coming. So sites like InstaVid, Vine, Snapchat, people are starting to use those to upload smaller videos. So how can distributors take advantage of this kind of audiovisual storytelling?
Yeah, this can be really intimidating and challenging for a lot of businesses. I think that they feel like they have to be Martin Scorsese, to do video, right? Like, I don't know how to do video. I think that some of the ways, Vine is a very short, little video, and that can be really intimidating. So what I would recommend is, first of all, pick one social media site they can do very well. If they're going to do video, don't be overwhelmed by it. Use your smartphone, use your tablet. When you're at events, even when you're at an ASI show, do a quick video out front saying, hey, we're here at the ASI show in Orlando. We're so excited to bring you the best promotional products next year. Stay tuned for more. And that can be just a real quick little snippet. Mm-hmm. You can throw into Vine. You can throw to YouTube. And just be willing to be vulnerable and be in the moment. And use your smartphone. It's not going to look amazing. That's okay. Mm-hmm. Authenticity has a lot more, I think, credibility than a super hyper-produced video. So just have fun. Be willing to act in the moment and upload it to the video sites that feel most comfortable to you.
Gotcha. Now, there's a lot of different social platforms out there, obviously, and it seems like new ones are coming on. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say all the time, but with some frequency. If you had to kind of sift through all that and pinpoint what your favorite social media site for business is, what would that be and why?
My personal opinion on that, or what's best for the ASI members?
Let's do both.
Okay. Well, I am deeply committed to a suite of social sites that I I build a content marketing calendar at the beginning of my year, and I look at, before I start engaging every year, I look at what's happening over the course of the year. What conferences am I going to? What's happening from a seasonality standpoint in the industry? And then what I do is I back in the keyword phrases that are really important to me to be a content matter expert on. And so I build a 12-month social media calendar. At the beginning of every month, I write all my tweets. I figure out what my blog posts are going to be for that month. Mm-hmm. Then what I do is I look at, okay, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So all of my because time is of a huge essence for most business owners, as it is for myself, everything starts from the blog. So what I do is I create a really rich, interesting, graphic-rich blog. And then what I do is over that week, I socialize with it. So first I socialize it with it on Facebook, and I upload the image that matches the blog. Then I have a series of tweets around that blog that get pushed out to Twitter. I post it on LinkedIn one time, and then I also take a look at, does it make sense to add on Pinterest for that blog post? So the blog is the epicenter of my social, and then I add commentary in that throughout the course of the week based on my time. So those are my favorite sites. Mm-hmm. I think that based on the engagement I've had with ASI attendees at the last few events that I've spoken at, I think that time is of such an essence for them. And I think that the best possible hit they're going to have from a social engagement standpoint is going to be Facebook, a Facebook page. I'm a marketing, sort of junkie, and I think that they should be doing all of them all the time, mm-hmm. right? They should stop work and just no. But I do think Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, if Twitter being the last of those three, that they should consider heavily engaging in. But like I said earlier, do what you can do based on time and what you're most committed to.
All right, fantastic. So how important is it for companies to be kind of actively monitoring what's going on out there the more they get involved with social media, complaints, any sort of internet trolling, like what's important to think about there?
Yeah, I mean, at the very basic, you should do Google Alerts, alerts.google.com, and have your major brands, your company name, your key positions in the company, have those being sent to you in a digest at the end of every day so that at least you can keep your ear to what's happening in search. So secondarily, there's also websites like TweetBeep and socialmention.com, which you could pull up on a daily or weekly basis and see if there's any negative sentiment or positive sentiment happening around your social media. And then, of course, there's website or social management tools like Sprout Social and Hootsuite and TweetDeck. Those will give you a dashboard of engagement and help you to focus on what's the engagement, what's being said about my company, and where should I choose to engage. So those are some of my favorite listening devices, if you will.
All right, kind of on a somewhat similar topic, should distributors, folks in the ASI industry, should they be actively trying to get their business websites higher up in search engines or directories, say like a Yelp? And if they are interested in doing that, what's a couple basic steps they can take to help themselves rank higher?
Gosh, that's a big question.
Right, it is. It's SEO 101, I think. Yeah.
Well, I think that it's always important to, as a business owner, to try to evolve out of a brochure site, a flyer site, if you will, that's just purely about them, and think instead about being a thought leader in your space. So if I'm a specialist in embroidery or silk printing, screen printing, I should say, how can I advise potential customers about the pitfalls of engaging a lesser product, or not understanding exactly what they're buying, or the outcome of not getting the correct product and the way it's been imprinted or embroidered. So I think it's one thing to just say, hey, we have a special on these tote bags, and another thing, let's talk about canvas versus other products, and what do you need to know as an educated buyer? Show up that way, and people will naturally gravitate you and buy from you as an industry leader. I think the more that ASI members can start thinking of thought leadership versus salesmanship, I think they're going to be able to not only rank higher, because Google has really changed its algorithm over time. I mean, I've been doing this for 13 years plus, which is like dinosaur years in search engine marketing.
Right.
I hate to say that, but yeah. But, you have to think about, first of all, evolving from a brochure site, using keywords and keyword ideas to generate content, and then be willing to socialize around that content as a thought leader in your space. You're not a salesman pushing content onto social. Mm-hmm. You're not a salesman in SEO. You are a thought leader, and you have and what we train at the SEI events is, you have a core list of keyword phrases, maybe 10 to 20 phrases that you need to dominate in the search results.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just because you're hitting on an important topic, and I wanted to maybe get a little bit more into that, and that's this. There's, people should be positioning themselves as thought leaders. They should be trying to do that, and yet, as you kind of alluded to, sometimes they're portraying themselves on social media as just a salesman, like the buy one get one free kind of tweet that everybody sees all the time. So would you kind of count that among some of the biggest mistakes that business owners make, and what might be some of the other ones that they should really avoid doing?
Yeah, I think that some of the biggest mistakes I've seen people make is, like I said, they're totally salesy. Buy one, get one free, promo codes, this. It's all about them pushing their products out for sale. Another big mistake is I see we have no clue who you are. So there's no pictures of your company. I call it ghost town social media.
Okay.
Ghost town social media is no one works there. The pictures of your office are completely empty, just pictures of desks. Mm-hmm. And I don't see any sort of internal personality. Don't put your logo up as your image. I want to see your team holding the logo. I want to see what your environment looks like and what your people look like, and who's going to answer the phone. Well, you're going to talk to Dana, and she's our client rep, and she's been with us for 15 years, and so creating that social presence is key. And a lot of the ASI members that I've seen their social sites, quite frankly, are just not social. They're boring, and boring does not get traction on social media. And so that's another big mistake I see. And then finally, taking forever to respond to someone's comment or posting like once every 3 months. Or if I go in there and I see that you haven't posted since January and it's the end of April, I'm going to be like, well, I don't think they're listening. I don't think they're really there.
All right, fantastic. Well, Heather, before we let you go, we just want you to weigh in on a couple predictions, social media predictions for 2015 that we pulled from the Social Examiner.
Yeah.
All right, so do you think that SlideShare will become the YouTube for business?
My crystal ball says maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, people have been talking about SlideShare for a long time. I know that if you optimize SlideShare decks, they're findable in Google. If you think that, I think there's a certain demographic of people who really like those PowerPoint presentations, I don't see it's going to be the next YouTube.
Okay, so YouTube is this behemoth. Another prediction is that it's going to decline as social networks are able to, host video. So what do you think about that?
I do. I think that I think Google is really, for the first time in their history, employees are leaving in record numbers from Google to go work at Facebook. And I think we have to look at that and say, okay, that's a prediction that those people know what's coming down the road. And I think that YouTube also has to be super prepared that sites like Vimeo and Vine and all these other sites are going to eat their lunch. If they don't be prepared to be really relevant and to be very engaged with their community, I do think that YouTube will slip over time, and it won't be the go-to video resource like it is now.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Heather. You've given us a lot of great insights.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Heather.
And anyone listening can go to asishow.com to learn more about where Heather will be speaking. In Chicago is the next time, and she does a lot of great sessions on SEO and social media.
Yeah, she had a lot of interesting stuff to say, because we work with social media a lot in our lives, and I know I'm walking away with some valuable insights and some maybe new perspectives on things. It's funny, we started talking about some of the trends there toward the end, and I pulled a couple others. Do you want to hear them?
Yeah, let's go through them.
We'll see what everybody thinks of them. This one's kind of already been happening already, I would say, but it's confirmation, I guess, that 2015 is really going to be the year where video breaks out, where people are already clicking on videos a lot, and they tend to drive more views and more shares. But yeah, I think it's going to take even a bigger piece of the general interest pie, so to speak, and that's something that a Social Media Examiner had shared in this recent piece they did on upcoming trends. Another kind of related point is that visual content in general, so images, that's a fancy way of saying images, are going to drive looks a lot more. Basically, we're moving away from a text world that's been going on for a while, but it's going to accelerate this year. Are you seeing anything like that, like with your posting with stitches?
I mean, I feel like we actually added an Instagram page, and we're getting a lot of followers there. Actually, a lot more than we've had on Pinterest. And it's a fun site. I mean, Teresa Hagel, our senior staff writer, will cover stories, and she'll tweet. I mean, she'll post to Instagram, but we'll also tweet the images. But it just seems like we have more engagement, on Instagram. So I see that.
Makes a lot of sense, and of course the way you could share the images across platforms,
And that's the
and
other thing.
everything.
You can share them in multiple places, and then even measure the engagement if you want.
Yeah, and another thing, this was I found interesting and maybe counterintuitive to what a lot of us may think, but there's some experts out there who say that there's actually going to be a migration away from Facebook among some businesses. And the reason that this is because Facebook is so packed with different, people, companies, blah blah, you name it, that they can't get their message out there. That there's just there's too much noise. So they're going to look to other social platforms that might be more specific or geared towards their particular niche and start focusing on those, as opposed to putting a lot of time and energy into their Facebook page. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody goes to Facebook. I mean, there was another platform that was coming out that the name escapes me, but it was free, and people would send invites. I logged in once and I never went back.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Google Plus. People keep adding me to their circles, and I click and I never use it. So I can see why people might want to do that, but I still think Facebook's where it's at.
I totally agree. And again, like, these are people who who study this and are smarter than I am, but but just my layman's opinion is everybody's on Facebook. Don't you want to be where everybody is?
Yeah.
And it seems like if you don't have that Facebook page, and if it's not up to date, it almost invalidates you as a business or a brand.
I mean, I go, when I'm dealing with a new business or doctor's office, I look for them on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're on Facebook, I'm like, great, I can like them and I can find updates and contact information. If they're not, I'm kind of going like, oh, I've got to look it up online and stuff. So
yeah, it makes it definitely it's almost how it used to be when you'd go to a website and a website looked really like old, or it just looked a bit shoddy. Maybe you didn't get a great impression, and I sort of feel like that's almost how it is now at Facebook, because I think so many people go to Facebook first. But anyway, here's another interesting little tidbit that a lot of analysts feel that paid ads on social media, that if you're any kind of brand or business and you want to get traction on social media, you're going to have to start investing in ads to an extent, because they're basically putting algorithms in place that are going to limit your natural, how many organic posts you can do, and the reach of your natural posts are going to be limited by the platform. So therefore, you're going to have to invest and pay money. Yeah.
That's really true. And actually, we're looking for speakers for next year for ASI shows, and a couple of them who we're bringing on are going to be talking about the end of free internet marketing and how it's huge and how people need to know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So it is going to be sort of the next big thing, I think.
It's interesting because you almost wonder, like, how has it not happened yet when you and I guess it's just because they're trying to build the right back infrastructure so they can totally control it. But it's
there.
It's interesting, and it's going to happen. So it's
the algorithm it will be in place.
Yeah.
So
a couple other ones, I could keep going on and on about this all day, but that here's this, that we talk about how, and Heather hit on this, just how social media is social, right?
Right.
And too many people, marketers, brands, fail to grasp that. And that in 2015, though, if you are not giving some personal attention to the people who follow you, the people who like your posts or who comment on things that you put out there, you are really going to drop off the map, because people expect it to be a two-way street, to be that social experience, to not be it's a one-way channel marketing anymore.
Yeah,
so.
And you need to, if people post on your Facebook page, you have to hit like, you have to respond to them personally. If you have a blog and people post, you always have to respond, so they feel like you're hearing them.
Absolutely. Well, those are my big trends. You got anything for us?
Well, I actually have 5 social media mistakes, so I figured we could touch on a couple of them. And again, like you said, Heather touched on a lot of stuff. So some of these are a little repetitive, but I think that they make a lot of sense. So, one mistake is spreading yourself too thin. So, I mean, you can go out there and you can set up 5 accounts. right now Stitches has Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and that's a lot. And so we have to really decide where we're going to spend our time. So we try to put posts every day on all those sites. But if we don't, it would fall off. So the idea is that if you have limited content and you're not willing to customize it for each social media account, you should only be on, one or two. The idea is don't post the same thing on all social media accounts. Vary it, change it up a little bit, because understand that some of the same people might be on multiple platforms.
Gotcha.
You just said refusing to be social, right? So, you shouldn't just be posting like buy one, get one free or something. It should be stuff that is relevant to the audience and puts a little bit of personality in without then oversharing and posting stuff that could be personal. Have you ever seen people who have a business, say Twitter account or Facebook, but then are posting things that are sort of like personal and inappropriate?
Yeah, and it's a little awkward.
Right.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of an example, but I'm
thinking one, I can't share
it. Well, so then that was very inappropriate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have to be aware that if you're a business owner and you have a Twitter account, that's for business rather than for your personal, traffic rants or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
I guess another one that goes along with that is sharing like bait. So like bait is like clickbait, but the idea is that you're putting something out there that's sensational or that's, controversial, and you're hoping that people will like it or comment or share or get really angry or something like that. But that's not what you want to do. You want people to have a good relationship with your brand. You don't want them to feel like you're trying to incite them or, post something political or something that just, is somewhat upsetting. And I guess the last thing is, not measuring the ROI. And I know it's kind of hard to do that, but you're looking at your engagement levels. You're looking at how many likes you have. You're looking at, if people are converting, if they're clicking through to other things that you have. How do you measure engagement? Because I know that, for Advantages, you do some social stuff.
Yeah, we look at things like shares, how many people click through to the post, what kind of posts are actually getting, drawing interest, things of that nature.
Yeah, we do a similar thing, and we've actually noticed, our Facebook likes have continued to go up. Other magazines in the media space that we're in, we've got probably double what they have. Mm-hmm. And I think that, we attribute that in part to the content, but also our sort of reach on other sites too. And I guess one final thought is that when we're on Facebook, we say, hey, we're also on Instagram, check this out. And we try to get people who are on one platform to click over to another one.
Makes a lot of sense.
So one last thing, Chris, what's your favorite social media platform?
Oh, geez, I guess Facebook's the one that I use the most, like just for, I guess from in my personal life. So that's the one that I like the most. I feel like you could get a little bit more of your personality out there. I feel like LinkedIn is you have to be especially professional on LinkedIn, which is good, and then Twitter, I feel like you're so limited with 140 characters. I feel like with Facebook you could get more of your personality out there. So I like that.
I'd agree with that, and I also like the fact that with Facebook, if you have a personal and a business account, then you can be an admin for both, and so you can kind of toggle back and forth between the two pages. And so hence I'm on Facebook like 24/7. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's where we're at. So.
All right. Well, good show. Yes.
Yeah, I think that I've learned a lot. I hope our listeners have. So thanks everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.